Hi, Janet, and welcome to Entrepreneurcast. It's such a great pleasure to have you with us today.
It's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me along.
So, Janet, before we get going with the business side of things,
Mm.
tell us a little bit about who are you outside of your business and what do you enjoy doing in your spare time?
Well, when I get spare time, I love going walking in the hills. I live in Yorkshire, so I'm surrounded by the Pennine Hills, and I put my hiking boots on at the door, and then I just take off for a walk, and that's my favourite thing to do. And other than that, I have three children, and if they're around, we socialise, and it's all great. That's what I do in my spare time. Go to the cinema as well. I love going to the cinema.
And what about your business? Tell us all about the business and what really inspired you to start it.
Well, my business, Happiness Millionaire, that came about. I fell backwards into doing Happiness Millionaire actually. I was a commercial photographer, and I chose commercial photography because it would fit in with my children's schedule. I could go to manufacturing companies and do all their photographs and then be home in time to make my children's tea. However, I got the opportunity to create 13 images that represent a time-tested system to happiness and success. And this was by the Napoleon Hill Foundation in America. These images were originally to illustrate a book called The Path to Riches, which is a great book. And so once I had done those images, I started to use them as my business cards for me to get more commercial photography business. But the messages in the visuals that I'd created, people were really interested in those, and they weren't interested in me doing their photography. So I would start telling people, because the thing was, for me to create those images, I read Think and Grow Rich over 40 times. So for me to create an image that represent these principles, I had to dive really deep into the principles. I also became a Napoleon Hill certified instructor. So when I was talking to people, I kind of knew what I was talking about. And that was what people wanted. And one day, this woman said to me, she said, "Oh, do you do any one-to-ones?" I was like, "One-to-one what?" Coaching. I was like, "No, I don't do things like I can't even sort my own life out. I can hardly teach somebody to sort theirs." And I was like, "No, no, no, I won't do that." But she wouldn't stop asking me. I said, "Look, I'll do a group because I love group dynamics anyway, whether I'm teaching photography or anything." So I said, "Well, I'll do a group." And I wasn't expecting anything to come of this. She then goes away, gets a group of her friends together. She said, "Well, I've got a group." Okay, I'll do it then. So we start to work with my images, learning the messages and the principles, and they were starting to adapt these principles and use them in their lives, finding that their relationships were better, their businesses were starting to grow and develop, they were more confident, they were more enthusiastic, they did more exercise. It's like, all of that from my pictures. So it was quite amazing. So I finished that group, but then word got out amongst my network. Then another group saying, "Oh, I hear what you're doing is really good. Can we come?" I was like, "Well, I guess." So what I think was happening there was that the universe was telling me to do something else. And so I just raised my hands up and I said, "Okay, I will follow this." And that's what I did. And then I started to run seminars, like one-day seminars. I did 3-day training courses. And then the universe started to ask me for my book, and I didn't have it, but I knew it was, I'd done 3 or 4 years of being a trainer. So I'd come across many other people's stories and struggles, but I also had my own story that needed to be told. So I knew that I couldn't do that and continue to grow my seminar and workshop business. So I took a big leap of faith, and decided to stop all income generating work. I did maintain a mastermind group that kept my bills paid throughout the month, and also my children left home, so I rented out their rooms. Like, you can't come back, kids. Rented your rooms. um, so all of that has paid the bills while I wrote the book, and the book took me 3.5 years from me starting writing. Well, even longer when I think about when my mind started to work on it. But from me starting pen to paper or finger to keyboard, then it's 3.5 years ago, and that's the reason why this is a life-changing book, is because I didn't write it in 1 week or 2 weeks or however long people are taking these. You know, I really went for it. If I do something, I do it well, no shortcuts. And sure enough, I laughed and I cried throughout it. I got great feedback from it. People were changing their lives before I'd even finished the manuscript. So it's been a fantastic journey, and that's the reason why now it's there. It's a beautiful book, and you know, I totally love it. I'm really pleased as to how it's turned out, and the feedback I get is just great. People are really, really enjoying it, and scaring some people. In fact, that's what I get. Woman says to me the day, she says, "I love your book, but it scares me," and it scares me because most people don't like change. So if you don't like change, don't get that book. So that's a long-winded story as to how this business came about. But I was doing a talk the other day in London, actually, and somebody said, well, where does the Happiness Millionaire title come from? You know, is it about being a happy millionaire, or, you know, what's it about? And I said, well, it's about being wealthy in happiness. And that came about because I just got divorced. I've become a Napoleon Hill instructor. So I was involved in this network where success meant becoming a millionaire. It's like in that world, it's as though that's the only thing that defines what success is. And I was on a Skype call to a guy that I know in Canada who's also an instructor, a Napoleon Hill instructor. And I was like, oh, at this rate, I'm never going to be a millionaire. Not to worry, at least I'm a happiness millionaire. I thought, whoa, happiness millionaire. That is so powerful. So I start Google. I couldn't end the call quick enough. I had this really passionate feeling from my chest that said, this is my gift to you, you know, go find it. So I go on Google and I start looking around for these two words, and nobody had ever put happiness and millionaire together.
Wow.
So I'm broke at this point, right? I had no money, but I did have a credit card. And so I buy up domain names. I got .co.uk, .com, .net, you name it, I got it. And I bought hosting and everything. So 200 quid later, I had it secured. I've since gone on and I've secured the whole thing by trade marketing the brand, because so many people loved it. And I thought, if I don't protect my brand, someone will take this. I've had my brand stolen in the past, so I knew it was important to do that. And so that's how Happiness Millionaire came about. So I haven't planned any of this. So we're going to start talking planning. That's not my strong point.
So just that by the law of attraction, it just came
Total
to you.
universal.
Incredible.
Yeah, and so much of what I've done, of what I do, is intuitive, and I allow that guidance now, even if it feels uncomfortable. I remember one time I was doing my teeth in the bathroom, I was starting my day, cleaning my teeth, and I get this message, and it's loud and clear, and it said, "You must speak." I'm like, you are kidding. I'm a photographer. I hid behind a camera. You can see my pictures, but I don't want to be seen. And but when I got the message, I knew I had to follow that. And it's like, yeah, you're right. I do have to speak. I do have to share this story, because I have to help other people. You know, and it was as simple as that, really. And then it was about what skills and gifts have I been given that is then going to help others. Well, there was photography. and then I learned to speak properly because I wasn't going to just throw myself out. And though I did at the beginning, just sit in front of people and talk. But then I learned the skill of writing a good talk and, all the planning, the prep and all that kind of thing. And I just believe it's important to put your best foot forward, really.
Amazing. Janet, just because we already touched on the books and
Yes.
Napoleon Hill, so I was just wondering, because a lot of people say that at some point in life they come across a book that changed their life. Was it Napoleon Hill's book, or was it something else for you? Could you just share that with us?
Well, I guess I would have to say yes. Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich definitely changed my life. It most definitely did because of creating these images for starters. I didn't even ask it to change my life in that direction. Um, so yeah, definitely that. But also another book that changed my life was in fact Jane Fonda's autobiography. So the actress Jane Fonda. Um, and I remember reading her, and don't ask me what it was about it. I don't know, but I remember feeling really empowered. I know
Mm.
she's a feminist, she's an activist, so she's a very empowered female. And I thought, whoa, I want that. I want that life. I want that excitement. I want to be counted. I want to be seen and recognized. But at the time, I was just on a little beach by a lake in France. But I felt so empowered. I needed to run. But the people who I was with, I thought they'll think I'm nuts if I start running. So I went for a swim in this lake. It was freezing cold, but I was swimming and swimming. I thought I have to change my life. Sitting back, just cooking and cleaning after my kids, and at the time I was married, with my husband, so cleaning up. That wasn't me. I wasn't fulfilling me, and so that book woke me up to my own empowerment. It didn't happen overnight, but that was the seed was sown from reading that book.
Mm.
It was fantastic, and it's a big book. I've read it a few times now, actually. It is still brilliant.
Amazing. Well, thanks for sharing that. So, Janet, between your business, writing books, seeing your kids, your family, what would you say your typical day looks like?
I would say I don't really have a typical day because, I work for myself. I love my independent flow. I generally, at the night times, like I'll create a plan so I know what the important things for me to do the following day are in order for me to achieve the things that I'm then working on. And so I have an overall plan, so I know what I want to get through in a year or 5 years, whatever. And each day I just stay focused on what it is I wish to achieve. I address the most important things of that day in order to help me achieve. But I don't stress over things, I just get on with what's required at that time, really. If I feel like going for a walk in the hills, I will put my boots on, I go for a walk in the hills. If I want to work later at night, I will. If I want to end sooner, I will. If I've got a deadline, then I'm up at 5 and I go to bed at midnight because of my deadline. So I'm very flexible, and it's how I like my life to be. You give me a 9 to 5 job, I think I'd become an alcoholic. I couldn't do
Love it. So, Janet, throughout our entrepreneurial and business life, we come across a lot of challenges. What would you
that.
say was your greatest challenge, and how did you manage to overcome it?
I would say that my greatest challenge is maintaining focus, and I know after working with a lot of people, it's a common challenge. And but what helps me is I've created an image for focus, and it's a very powerful image. Now, this image it isn't in my book, but my book has a book membership to it that's worth nearly 200 quid. Honestly, it's amazing. We've got expert interviews and other recordings that I've done and all kinds of things in there. But one of the things is an audio that I did about focus, and this image is in there. Now, the image is of a magnifying glass, and I went to set wood on fire in a field not too far from me with a magnifying glass. And my daughter was holding the magnifying glass, and I was waiting patiently with my camera. Anyway, the whole story is on this audio, so I won't take up this time in telling the story, but it's a very funny story. And so many metaphors about focus in it, about, you know, how many times we stay focused, stay focused, stay focused, and then you think, do you know what, this just isn't working, I got to do something else. And you don't know if you move the magnifying glass just before that wood was about to set on fire. So that image reminds me to just stay on the game. You know, there may be times then that you have a break from something, but keep your mind focused on it. Even if your actions are not always focused, but keep your mind focused on it. That was how my book came about. I never lost my focus on my book, ever. And but that image reminded me, if I stay focused, it will happen, you know? So, and so many people would say, you should have had this book done by now. I think that you've got some fear, blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't have any fear. You see, this is the thing. When you're setting wood on fire with a magnifying glass, you have no idea how long that's going to take. No one can tell you, oh, you can do that in 2 minutes. You can do that in whatever. It's not possible to know that because there's too many different elements. This is exactly the same with the success of your business, of writing your book, of your relationship, anything. You have no idea how long anything will take. But if you believe in universal energy, if you believe in the physics behind pulling all the correct elements together, so the elements of things you need, not all the nonsense, the baggage that people carry around with them, shed your baggage, keep what the elements of life that you need, you bring those into your magnifying glass and focus, and you will get what you want. It's guaranteed. But you'll never know how long that's going to be. So you just got to wait and stay focused.
You know, I love how you took your challenge and then got creative with it and created your own solution.
Yeah.
That's just incredible. Just totally incredible.
Well,
Um,
say that though. These things, they pop into my head. I'm not really responsible for them because, you know, I don't know if your listeners have gathered so far, maybe they haven't, but the book that I've just written, and it's got all these 13 images in it in beautiful color. The other book just has them in black and white, but this has got them in color. And there's no rainbows or daffodils or anything like that to show happiness. They're much deeper and more powerful than that. And I do believe, and I share the story of each one of them in the book, how these images came about. And I do believe I was sent on a mission to create those images. They would just appear. But the one with the magnifying glass to represent focus, I was actually at a conference in London, and this guy was telling us, because I knew my business wasn't going where I wanted it to go, and I hadn't set up Happiness Millionaire at that point, but I did have these pictures, but I had no idea what I was doing with them. People loved them. It was all kind of woosy, you know. I was trying to develop my photography business, but all this other stuff's happening. So I was in a very confused, foggy time of my life. And I think that's also really important for people to understand as well, that you may be going through some fog, but the fog always clears. The sun always comes out. And that's what happened to me in this conference. So this guy on the stage, I forget who it was now, was telling this story of when he was a kid in school. They were doing this experiment of setting wood on fire with a magnifying glass. So I was just listening. And he was saying, but he really struggled in doing it. And so he was like, sir, this isn't working. The teacher was, but that's because you've got to hold the magnifying glass still. So he'd hold the magnifying glass still. And he'd go, but sir, it's still not working. He said, but you've got to hold the magnifying glass still. And all that knowledge was going into my head. and this image was being created. And I thought, that is what focus is. Focus is still.
Mm.
It's about bringing the elements and keeping them still. Don't ever doubt them. Don't question them. Just do it. And that's what, to me, that's what focus is. And that's where that picture came from. And I created it exactly as I saw that day in my mind. You know, there was no component that was different. So they sort of just pop into my head, and then the circumstances appear. It's amazing.
Yeah, but you are at least 50% responsible, because
Yeah.
a lot of people, they have all these thoughts and images and whatever it is, but it doesn't sink in. They just let it go. But you don't. You
No,
actually hold on to it, and you do
yeah.
something amazing with it.
But that's because I've got the skill for it. So they've
Mm.
arrived to the right person is what's happening. So somebody else, they might get that, but they haven't got the skill to manifest. I happen to have the skill to manifest the things I see.
Mm.
So, you know, a God-given skill, who knows? It was that intuition, you know, who knows? It was something that I wanted to do from the age of 19. At the age of 24, I was signed up to do a degree in Edinburgh. But of course, life changes. I get pregnant. I can't do my degree. But 13 years later, I was still itching to be creative. And I could never have been fulfilled unless I had brought that part of me out. So anyone who's listening to this, I would say, if there's some rumbling inside, some element of dissatisfaction, that's your gold, you know, and it's trying to speak to you. And I came about it through a route of depression. You know, it's like, how are you going to get there? How to make really life really shit for you so that you'll listen to me. You know, and sometimes we need that to get this wake-up call to go, okay, I don't feel confident to being a photographer. I feel a bit fake because the world's full of so many amazing photographers. Why does it need another one? That's all the stuff that was going through my head. But then the world said, but, you know, we don't have you as a photographer. So can you go and get the skills so that you can be the photographer? Now, clearly, given what I've just produced, I was meant to go on that journey. I was meant to be that photographer at the time that was right for me. If I'd have done it at the age of 24, I might not have had children. You know, I might not have gone on to have 3 children. So everything works perfectly, even if at the time you think life is awful. It's all happening perfectly. Doesn't mean you like it all the time, though.
So Janet, you shared with us your challenges and how you managed to overcome it, which for me really is a great success. But what would you say was your greatest success?
Oh, it has to be launching my book in London last week, which was International Happiness Day. That is the top of my tree. You see, the very first image in this system is it represents desire, and it's of a rock climber. It's beautiful, blue sky up at the top, and this guy who's climbing up towards his blue sky. That image kept me going for 3.5 years while writing my book. And my vision for me at the top of my blue sky was launching my book in London on International Happiness Day. I thought it was going to be last year, but again, you don't know how long it's going to take for your wood to set on fire.
Hmm.
Well, last year I wasn't ready, but it was this year, and it was just magnificent. It really was magnificent. It was a very proud moment, and the right people were in the room. It's been a magnificent journey, and I know the work is just beginning. But now my dream is even bigger. You know, I've got even bigger goal at the top of my rock climb in that blue sky. So yeah, it's great. That's my greatest achievement at the moment.
Janet, you have an incredible story, and it's an inspirational story, and I'm sure you inspire a lot of people, definitely me, and I'm sure a lot of other people. But what about yourself? Who inspires you, and do you have so-called personal heroes?
Okay, let's have a think about this. My personal heroes, we'll start with that one first. They're all past, I'm afraid. But my mum and dad are my personal heroes. I do believe that my dad helped me to write the book, because, or wanted me to write the book, actually. Again, I don't think we've covered this, but my dad committed suicide in 1994, so he clearly wasn't happy. And 6 years later was when I had my breakdown, so I clearly wasn't happy either. But both of us were in search of happiness, and my dad didn't find his happiness, so his life ended in a very sad and tragic way. I was in search of happiness, and thank goodness I found it. And now I can share that with other people. And I do believe very firmly that my dad was behind this. I believe he regretted the decision. What a dumb decision, you know. So I believe he regretted that, and he wants me to go and help people, not just depressed people, to overcome depression, but which I think we all go through to one degree or another. I think we're supposed to, in fact. But to encourage people to just truly live and have no fear in what living really is. You know, our potential is just infinite and phenomenal. And so I believe my dad's wanting me to get out there, tell people they can do what they want to do and don't be unhappy. And then my mum, who just surrounded all her family with love. Love was at the heart of my mum. So she inspires me to be that loving being. And then it would have to be Napoleon Hill, because he's come and rescued me. His work rescued me at two very difficult times of my life. And both times has brought me untold fulfillment and achievement. So they're my heroes. As to who inspires me, well, I am not, you know, it isn't the Tony Robbinses and all those kind of people. It's actually my children. They really inspire me, but not because I want to be like them. They inspire me to be the best version of me for them. You know, I want them to be proud of their mum. And for them to do that, then I have to be something to be proud of. Because you can't just expect people to respect you. You must earn your respect. You can't just expect people to love you. You must earn your love. And so they inspire me for those reasons, really.
Amazing.
So
Thanks for
I,
sharing
I don't
that.
entrepreneurs want to hear, but
um, no, I'm really grateful, you know, for your answer. It just, I kind of went quiet for a minute because I just had some thoughts going through my head, like running really through my head. Janet, just for fun, really, I always like to ask this question. So, where would you say you come up with your best ideas?
Ah, well, you know, what's really amazing? I find my best ideas come at a time either when I'm just going to sleep or when I'm just waking up.
Mm.
In fact, I know a lot of successful people, they go, oh, you know, you shouldn't give yourself those extra minutes once your alarm clock's gone off. But actually, I do. And I used to feel really guilty of doing this initially because I thought, oh, that's not what successful people do. But that's when I find in that quiet time, my mind is relaxed and is open to thinking of ideas. And it's in that moment that I start to think of my day, and I start to let thoughts just gently come into my mind. And more often than not, the answer to whatever it is I'm looking for, so the idea of how I want to grow my business or anything, it's usually then that it comes. And the other thing is, when I was writing my book, and I used to feel so guilty about this until I heard that Thomas Edison, Andrew Carnegie, F.W. Woolworth, Roosevelt, they all used to take an afternoon nap, right? And
Mm.
that's when they got their best idea. And that's just what used to happen to me. I would get tired in the afternoon. I'd be getting a mental block on what I needed to write. And I think, do you know, I just need 10 minutes sleep. And if I put my head down, as soon when I start to go into that unconscious state, bingo, the idea came, and I would wake up somewhere, stop time, because I'd sleep near my computer, and I would wake up, go, oh, got it. And so those were when my best time. So if you feel guilty having a 10 minutes in the afternoon, don't, you know. Inspiring.
If you need more
Schedule it.
ideas, just go for a
Yes,
nap.
go for that. But it's true. And who else used to do that? Wasn't it Einstein? That he'd be working so hard, and I think it was his mother who said, "Go play your violin. Go off and do something completely different
Mm,
to what it is you want to create." And what it does is it frees your mind up. Sometimes you can be thinking so hard that the idea can't come through. You're consciously blocking it. So you need to do something different so that you can release your conscious mind so that the messages can come through. Now you can clearly see I'm a great believer in universal energy and universal messages, and I think that's where our ideas come from. They kind of pop into your head, and you have to open your head up for that to happen.
mm.
If that makes any sense, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Janet, you've been in the business for quite a while. You went through a lot of ups and downs.
Mhm.
You obviously have a lot of experience, knowledge, and wisdom. So, out of all your experience, knowledge, wisdom, would you share with us your top three tips and strategies for the listener today to drive their business and life forward?
Okay, tip number one, I'd say relax. You know, life's not that um, important. Well, it's important, but life is not that complicated, is what I want to say. So just relax. There are business strategies out there. Find the ones that work for you. I one of the principles in the book is organized planning, which is very important. I was a rubbish planner. In fact, I didn't plan anything. But when I realized how important planning was, I had to devise a strategy that worked for me. Now, don't give me a plan that's a list of things or a marketing plan that's a booklet and I've got to read through. My mind doesn't work like that. Everyone's mind works differently. So for me, I created a spider diagram, and that's how I do my plans today. If I'm managing my house, if I've got work needing done on my house, I just do a spider diagram. Totally takes all the stress out of everything. Plus, you get to use a highlighter pen and tick things off as you went into, so it looks pretty, right? So I spider diagram for everything from my business to my personal life. So that's one. So first of all, relax. Second one, find a planning strategy that works for you. But ultimately, you've got to know where you want your life to go. If you don't know where you want your life to go or what you want your life to look and feel like, you won't create anything, because how can you? You've got to, the universe says, but I don't know where I want you to go. Give me some ideas what you want and I'll help you to create that. If you can't do that, you'll live in this state of confusion. And I believe that my dad was very much like that. He didn't believe he had control over his life. He didn't believe that he could create something that he'd be proud of, that life just was how it was. It was unlucky for him that life was mediocre. um, and then when he hit retirement, then it just, the wheels came off. So you must have direction, you must have a desire, you must believe in yourself and take it easy, and be kind to yourself, really. I think that was more than three, though.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Janet. And also, out of your journey, obviously you probably came across a lot of little bits and pieces that helped you within your business. So resources. So could you share any kind of resources that, made your life easier, basically?
Um, well, I actually outsource an awful lot of things now, because if you're not good at something, get somebody who is good at it.
Mm.
So let's see. I mean, Excel, great resource. Keep tabs on your finances. That would be a number one resource in business, even if you're just watching your money going out. Because to start with, when you're setting up a business in the early days, it requires investment, either investment of money or investment of time. So I would say look at resources that can help you with that, to keep a tab on your cash, and recognize a time when you've got to stop putting money in, it's time for money to come back. So I used some financial resources. For me, it was purely an Excel sheet. That seemed to make sense to me. Other resources. You see, if you're talking websites and things, I just outsource. I outsource everything. Sorry. So you need to speak to my outsourcers to find resources they're using. I'm just like, use whatever you like. This is the job I need doing. But yeah, I can't really answer that question, I'm afraid. I go with the flow a lot of the time.
Awesome. Well, I guess the best resources for you, Excel sheets and
And
outsourcing the resources.
mind mapping, mind map everything. It was good enough for Walt Disney and it's good enough for me. So yeah, mind mapping is a great way to do things. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Janet.
Yeah. Well,
Janet, again, you went through quite a lot and you're running your business,
mm,
you got your book, you have your events coming up, everything is up and running, it's all amazing. But what is next for you? What's your next big aim, dream, goal? And if there is
right.
someone listening today who could
Mm.
potentially help you get there, who would it be?
Well, my next really big goal is to make my book a bestseller. I do believe that what I've written is helpful to many, many people, and I do believe it's a bestseller. So that's my big goal. Is there anyone out there who can help me? I don't know. Some big publisher who goes, "Oh, I believe in this. I'll take it global." So yeah, if that person's listening, please get in touch. Um, and other than that, buy the book, put Amazon reviews on, and let's share it and tell the world about it. Let's make this word of mouth and just share the story. It's a powerful book. It's based on time-tested principles that everybody should know, from a housewife to a multimillionaire. They should know these principles, live by them, and life's pretty cool. Doesn't mean that bad things won't happen, challenging things won't happen. They will, but you'll have the tools in your back pocket in order to deal with any situation. So yeah, my goal, international best-selling author.
Sounds good to me.
Where's the first?
So, Janet, we're coming to the end of the show, but before we say our goodbyes, is there anything else you would like to share with us today or advise on?
I think I've pretty much said it actually, and I think the important thing is, you know, be easy on yourself and trust that you're in the right place at the right time all of the time. And one of the final image in this system is Sixth Sense, and it's the image of the blue sky and an angel. And when I started out on my journey, and even now as I stretch myself, I always keep that image with me. Like, 'cause these images are also, they're in a little pack called Motivation at a Glance, all available on Amazon. And I would keep that image in my pocket because it reminded me that you're always at the right place at the right time. Always, for whatever reason, and you might not like the reason, but there's a bigger thing at play here, and so that would be my goal. Is my last comment is just trust in the universe and in yourself, and just be yourself. Everyone's awesome. Everyone has a special gift, and it's up to us to be that gift.
Thank you so much for sharing that and for making the time to come on the show. It's been incredible. I'm sure after I read your book, you've sent me your book, and I'm really excited to read it. And after our conversations, there were things already that, made so much sense. And I'm just so grateful for everything. And I'm sure we'll see you again. So thank you very much. And for anyone who wants to get in touch or follow you in any way, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, the best way is just to go to my website, which is happinessmillionaire.com. There's information about the book, and there's information about any events and things that I'm running on there. And then join me on Facebook and Twitter. I think at Twitter I'm at Happiness Millio because it doesn't have enough characters to write Happiness Millionaire. So it's Happiness Millio. And then on Facebook, it's facebook.com/happiness millionaire. They're a bit more generous
Nice.
characters. So yeah, you can join me, and like I say, with the book, there is the book membership. So once people have got the book, they can join in the book membership. That brings people into a whole community of people who are reading the book and sharing their stories. And I pop in with, my words of wisdom every now and again. So there's loads of ways that you can become part of the Happiness Millionaire world. It's a great world.
Amazing. Well, thanks again for everything. It's been incredible, and I really look forward to meeting you hopefully soon in London
Yeah.
and speaking again soon.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much. And you're doing a great job.